The Seventh Fire, Gavin Clay, American Indian Studies Final Project. Introduction Summary. The Seventh Fire is a 2015 documentary film directed by Jack Pettibone Riccobono. The film focused on two young men from the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota. The two young men were Rob Brown, a gang leader facing his fifth prison sentence, and Kevin Finday Jr., a 17-year-old trying to rise within gang culture. This film examines the impact of gang violence, substance abuse, and the criminal justice system on Native reservations and communities. Background information. The title Seventh Fire refers to the Ojibwe Seven Fires prophecy. The seventh fire represents a critical choice between destruction and healing, which symbolizes a turning point for Native communities and the youth. The film was made after the director Riccobono visited the White Earth Reservation in 2006 and learned about the rise of gang culture among the Native youth. Riccobono returned to the reservation in 2010 to find someone to talk about the issue of gang culture migrating from jails in inner cities to isolated Native communities. It was this trip where he met one of the two subjects for the film, Rob Brown. Native American filmmaker Chris Eyre joined the production of the film in 2012, when the film was a quarter of the way completed. The shooting of the film began in January 2011, and it took over 14 shoots and over 2.5 years to complete. Riccobono collaborated with a lot of tribal members to ensure a respectful and accurate representation for the film. Context and function. In this film, there's a raw and unfiltered depiction of what life is like on the White Earth Reservation. Raw meaning there's no dramatic music, no scripted narration, and no voiceover. The camera strictly follows the lives of Rob Brown and Kevin Finday Jr., often in quiet and long takes that show everyday moments, just their interactions with family and friends, hanging out in smaller houses, and walking down the streets, etc. The sound is pretty minimal, ambient noise and occasional local music or conversation. This simplicity creates a strong sense of realism and places the viewer right in the lives of Rob and Kevin. There is no emotional manipulation through music or editing, therefore the viewers are left to draw their own conclusions based on what we see on the screen. Context and function. Visually, the film uses natural lighting and handheld cameras, giving it an intimate feel. You can see the landscape of the reservation, the snow-covered landscape, rundown houses and buildings, and empty roads, which shows the isolation and economic hardship of the community. The function of The Seventh Fire is a documentary. It documents a rarely seen side of Native American life, especially the youth gang culture, serving as a testimony for Rob and Kevin about what it's like living inside their cycle of poverty, addiction, and incarceration. The format of the film is a quiet and observational style, making us viewers feel more like a witness rather than a passive observer. This film doesn't have interviews or stats. It makes the viewers connect the dots, making a larger emotional impact. Therefore, viewers don't just learn about the issues Rob and Kevin face, but they feel them. Impact and theme connections. Colonialism. Not only in a historic sense, but how it continues to shape the lives of indigenous communities today. The film shows the lasting effects of systematic oppression. Poverty, broken up families, and high incarceration rates. Their direct consequences of forced land loss and the policies that tore apart Native communities. Cultural identity. We see how their cultural identity is damaged and redefined. Rob and Kevin are Ojibwe, but are quite disconnected from their traditional practices. They have adopted a gang lifestyle which has filled the void of their lost culture. Stereotypes. The film strays away from the usual Hollywood image of Native Americans, instead showing real individuals dealing with trauma, addiction, and poverty, challenging the viewer to let go of romanticized or one-dimensional views portrayed of indigenous people in Hollywood films. Resistance and survivance. It's not brought into this film very much at all, but in the end, when Rob and Kevin have some reflection of their current life choices, Rob and Kevin begin to understand that healing is possible and their potential to choose different paths and restore their cultural connections, as well as breaking generational cycles.